Welcome to the commentary booth, where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a teacher and travel blogger who lists their favourite movie as Fight Club and favourite TV show as Band of Brothers. Welcome to the show, the drink-stealing Buddy McClelland.
Oh, I knew you were going to hang on to that.
Yeah, you can't tell me any secrets.
Yeah, hey, people have accidents in dark cinemas. That sounded weirder than I meant it, but...
That sounds a lot more suspect than I think it was.
I accidentally drank somebody else's drink. It was not as creepy as that just sounded.
That is very, very funny. Only you.
Yeah. Well, glad that didn't happen to us. I love you, but not that much.
Yes, especially now, COVID times, you don't want to be stealing random people's drinks in the cinema.
No way. The guy looked at me weird enough when I accidentally drank his drink in pre-COVID times, let alone COVID time would be a lot worse. Well, smoke alarm.
Uh-oh. Are you on fire?
Anne's cooking.
Is Anne cooking? Is Anne cooking?
It's cooking. Very well could be on fire.
Do you want to go check that and come back, or?
I think we're good. I'm not on fire yet.
You saved it. Put the fire out.
I hope.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So on the sort of topic of fire, have you got plans for fireworks, New Year's Eve?
I'm trying to get away a little bit. So thankfully, you keep saying travel blogger at the start of all these, and I've been stuck for like 2 years. So finally actually getting out and doing a little bit of traveling. So we're only going to the Hunter Valley for New Year's with a couple of our friends, and we've got the puppy now, so we can take the pup up there. So play a bit of golf, go to some wineries, and just try and get away from Wollongong a little bit. And then we're also going down the coast and staying in we like to try and do like glamping and tiny houses a lot of the time. So staying in like a bubble tent down out the back of Milton, and then going up to Maroochydore in Queensland, because we got a lot of frequent fly points stacked up that we didn't get to use on our honeymoon. So just try and make the most of those, seeing a lot of Australia while I still can, other than Western Australia, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, knock on wood that all of those places still let you in.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just got to do the COVID testing, like once we leave and once we arrive in Queensland, whatever it is. I mean, I think that's just going to be everywhere from now on.
Yep. Yeah, I think testing is going to be a pretty frequent thing.
Yeah.
Got the booster shot yesterday, and holy dooly, the Moderna vax packs a punch.
Oh, got you, did it?
Oh, I had the sorest arm all night and all day today. I think it's still not great. Like, it still hurts to lift my arm up, but
yeah. I was surprised when you said to me that your first lot didn't hurt your arm, because mine, I was the same. I could hardly lift it for both. I got one in each to try and even myself out by the end, but it felt like I've been punched hard.
Yeah, it just feels like I've got a dead arm from the top of my shoulder down.
Yeah, better a dead arm than buggered lungs.
Yeah, and thankfully I didn't get any of the like flu gross symptoms. It was just a sore arm, and it was warm. It was warm last night, so I didn't sleep all that well, but I don't think I had a fever or anything, so.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh well.
Happy days.
All boosted up, 5G plus now. I'm good to go.
Reception. I'll hotspot you next time.
Yeah, see, if we ever go somewhere and have no internet or service, just hotspot.
Well, I couldn't have really tested it the other night because they took our phones off us anyway.
Yeah, so during the Spider-Man No Way Home preview screening, got to go 2 days early. And yeah, they took our phones and they prevented me getting the one photo I really wanted.
It was good. It made you focus on the movie. I feel like more places should probably do that.
Yeah, well, I guess when I'm in a cinema anyway, I just put my phone either next to me or in my pocket and don't touch it anyway. But yeah, it is nice that you go into one of those screenings and you know there's not going to be anyone else that is on their phone. Because when I went to see another movie, there was people in front of me on their phone. I was just like, what are you doing? Like, there's a preview screening. Stop it.
Yeah, it's annoying. I almost wish restaurants and places did that too. Coming over for dinner, give me your phone. That's it. We're just talking.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you can do that yourself, though. Just play the old phone down the middle. Whoever picks it up has to pay for dinner.
Yeah, true.
I feel like that would get very expensive for Anne and Leah real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because they want to do that Instagramming of the dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they'd be buying dinner every time.
And no one sees what you ate. What's the point?
Hey, that's good for you and Sean. Never cost you anything. Well,
Yeah,
never directly
married,
cost you anything.
It is also our money.
That's also true. So surface level for Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to avoid spoilers to begin with, and then we'll go full spoilers afterwards. What did you think of the movie?
I've been struggling for the last 2 days of like, the whole thing came up at the start, like Tom Holland and everyone, like, don't spoil this movie. And just knowing that we've been able to see it, which was awesome. And I feel so lucky to be able to do. But it's been a hard couple of days, not being able to talk to any other person about it. I loved it. Loved it. I think you put it best when you said afterwards that it felt like a fan fiction had just come to life, and that everything the fans wanted, they actually listened to and kind of just went for it. Loved it. I'm a massive Spider-Man fan, and I have been for ages. I'm sure I've still got a Spider-Man pillowcase somewhere in my house. My favorite Christmas decoration is a Spider-Man hanging upside down with a Santa hat. And of all the Spider-Man films that I've seen, that was my favorite.
Yeah, I think it was the best one. And yeah, like I think it made all of the Spider-Man movies from the past 20 years actually feel relevant and like they were part of the plan. And that, I think, is the biggest compliment that you can give this movie. It makes the Sam Raimi and what's the other director's name? Mark Webb, makes their movies actually feel like they were supposed to be in the MCU at some point without ever actually being that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really like the way that Tom Holland, at first, it's like everything. I feel like I worry about who's going to take on these big roles. I said it before with James Bond. I get worried about who's going to be this James Bond, and then sometimes they do it and you prove right that maybe they shouldn't have been the person. At first, I wasn't sure about Tom Holland, but this being his last in the contract, I really hope they keep going with him. And I think he does a great job. I watched Hot Ones. I love that YouTube show, Hot Ones, where they eat the hot wings and do the questions. And obviously him promoting No Way Home, he had a Hot Ones episode on there. But he described that the director was making him watch a series of kind of retro movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and things. And he described the way he tries to play Spider-Man as being a cross between Ferris Bueller and Marty McFly. So that's the best description I can give of him doing it. I think he does a pretty good job. I think he's a little bit arrogant in thinking he could be the new Marty McFly, because no one will ever be Marty McFly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way he does that is really great. And he refers to the interaction between Spider-Man, his Spider-Man, and Iron Man as being the Marty and Doc relationship of our generation. So I think he has a good crack at that, but I love the way the character is played like that. He's always trying to do the right thing in a goofy kind of way, and he's pretty quick-witted along the way while he does it.
Yeah, I think this movie, like, obviously is, of the Tom Holland trilogy, this one did feel like the darkest and the one that focused the most on Spider-Man himself. Like, the first one was kind of Spider-Man and Iron Man together, and then the second one was Spider-Man and Nick Fury, whereas this one is very much just Spider-Man. Like, we see Doctor Strange in the beginning to sort of kick off all the chaos of the multiverse, but for the most part, he's not in it. It's all Peter Parker, Spider-Man, dealing with the chaos that ensues.
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange is the only part I didn't like. And that's not a comment on the film. And I know that they need him there to be able to create that multiverse situation. They need that element of magic. But I just, as a Marvel character, Doctor Strange is definitely not up there for me. Him and his cape and his magic. I think it's the hand movements that he always has to do. Like, everyone else just gets on with it, but he's got to do these long-winded dancing spells.
Intricate dances to get a spell to happen.
Yeah, and the only part that I almost got motion sick at one point when it was just like so much universe collapsing on itself and all sorts of things without giving too much away. But that was a bit intense for me. Maybe it's just my age. I'm getting motion sickness from the movies now. But it was pretty full on.
Yes, all credit to the extensive, very, very extensive graphics department on this movie, because holy dooly did they have some work to do just between Green Goblin, Spider-Man swinging around, and then Doctor Strange and his mirror universe. Like crazy graphics and motion graphics in this movie that probably was really good. Like there wasn't any that sort of jumped out as being cheap or rushed or anything. Like they all felt really well done. Yeah, just very full on.
Yeah, I really loved it. Like 100% favorite movie that I've seen probably this year. And it was nice that it lived up to the hype. I think that also was a big concern for me going into it, was when films have these really, I guess with COVID especially, but the really long-winded build-up, and then they have really fantastic trailers and all this hype surrounds them, and you get there and you go, This was one where I didn't feel that. I walked out feeling like 100% lived up to the hype, made me happy. It kind of took me on a ride of laughing, feeling sad, feeling angry, the whole thing, and just really sucked me into the movie and left me feeling like I forgot what I wanted.
Yeah, I was really happy that the trailers sort of did a good job of holding back and not revealing a lot of the big moments in the movie. They kept it very under the close to their chest and didn't reveal a lot. So it did feel like, hey, this has all been worth it, and it lived up to the hype. And I felt like some of the dialogue was a bit just like cliche and very like what you would expect from a superhero trope type movie, but the performances from Tom Holland and Zendaya and all of the villains were really well done. So I'm pretty happy with how that all came out, and like the emotional weight that in some of the bigger moments towards the end, like that, it didn't feel like it was just thrown in there to have this, oh, here's the moment that pulls on your heartstrings. Like it actually felt like it was earned and built up to this as a really prominent part of the movie and story.
Yeah. No, loved it. I'm trying my best not to spoil things because I don't like it out. And to be fair, I think that was the other good thing that they did with it, was that there is a lot of good things you can spoil here, which means there's a lot of cool things happening. So just the fact that there is spoilers and then leaking it out a little bit made me so much more excited to just wait and see what happened, and just made the whole thing more exciting for me.
Yeah, I think they threw out enough breadcrumbs where they let people sort of speculate on what was happening without giving away all of these big moments, and yeah, tons of Easter eggs. Like there's so much, like it didn't feel like it was a pretty long movie. I can't remember exactly how long, but it was quite a long movie, but it didn't feel long watching it. Like it felt like it was just moving along at a pretty good pace the whole time.
Yeah. No, I never felt bored through it.
Okay, so yeah, we're highly recommending it at this point, and I think we should probably dive into spoilers, otherwise we're just going to be walking on eggshells for the rest of the episode. So if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, now's the time to pause and come back to it once you've seen the movie. But yeah, so full spoilers from here on out. What was your biggest, oh crap moment, this is actually happening?
The part where you walk through and they try and gets the Doctor Strange ring and makes his own portal, calls for Spider-Man, and you think maybe that's not the same Spider-Man. And then lo and behold, it's Andrew Garfield. And I mean, the whole cinema erupted at that point. Like everyone was stoked that that's the avenue that they went down. Because there'd been rumors about it. But to actually see that it was happening. And then also then you're kind of going, surely they're going to get Tobey Maguire in. But the moment where Andrew Garfield pulls the mask off and reveals that it's him, and then the comedy that goes along with that as they work out what's happening or making him prove that he's Spider-Man, that scene I thought was fantastic. It just sucked me right back in.
Yeah, and it was good that they didn't sort of wait a long time before they revealed Toby as well. Like, here's Andrew, and then a little bit of him proving who he is, and then we're quickly into Toby as well, so you don't sit there going, are they going to bring Toby in? Like, and make you concerned that, oh, maybe he's not going to pop up. So I was glad that they did that in sort of rapid succession.
Definitely, because I think if you leave him too long, it makes you wonder if Tobey Maguire, the actor, didn't want to be a part of it or wasn't able to be a part of it, which then pulls you out of the actual story itself. So I think they did a good job of making you wait a little bit, but not too long, 100%.
And like you mentioned, the cinema erupted when that happened. They also went pretty crazy when Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil from the Netflix show, popped up. And it was the actual actor from that show, Charlie Cox, who he popped up as the lawyer for Spider-Man, and they don't say anything about him being Daredevil, but everybody in the cinema knew that, hey, this is definitely Daredevil. And that makes Charlie Cox the first actor to go from a Marvel Netflix show to the MCU films proper. So hopefully we can continue to see that sort of go on a bit more in the future.
Yeah, there was a lot of good moments through there that I thought too. I think having all the old villains come back was great. For me, as someone that I remember, I think I was 14, maybe we were 14 when the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film came out, and I just watched it on repeat. And to be able to have all those things, the nostalgia just came back for everything they brought up. And I think they did a really good go at trying to include little bits of everything through the film. I think with all the villains there, that really helped.
I like the way the villains were like incorporated too. They had that nostalgic hit, but they also felt fresh and new with some of the ways that they were portrayed. Like Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is very clearly just like a crazy person, but he has enough that he can sort of control the Goblin at times. Jamie Foxx sort of uses the story of what's happening as a reason for why he's slightly different in this movie, saying like he likes who he is in this movie, so he's not the shocker that he was in the previous iteration. Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is awesome as well. So like I said, I think they've done a really good job of making all of those previous Sony Spider-Man feel relevant to MCU Spider-Man.
Yeah, 100%. And the way that the Spider-Man's played off, or Spider-Mans, what's the plural of Spider-Man? Spider-Men?
I say Spider-Men, but that's probably wrong.
The way that the Spider-Men played off each other, like I was coming home, and when I eventually got home, I was just raving to Anne, my wife, about it. And obviously she's not as big into the Marvel cinematic thing, had no interest in spoiling things for anyone. But I said to her, you know what's better than one Spider-Man? 3 Spider-Men. The only way they could make a Spider-Man movie better is adding extra Spider-Man. And the way that the 3 of them worked together and played off one another and had little sort of Easter eggs like you're talking about from each of their own universes and their own film series, incorporated into that as little jokes and things, even when they're trying to get Tobey Maguire to explain how his web shooting works, because he's the only one that has it actually come out of his body. Things like that. I just found that really, really funny. And when he's trying to convince Andrew Garfield that you're amazing. You're amazing. Stop that. Like just those little jokes, like fan jokes that they purposely put there for us to laugh at and just kind of have that little bit of in the know from watching the previous films. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely liked the web jokes of, wait, that just came out of your body. What?
Yeah.
And the Amazing Spider-Man was another good one. Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man was another really good one as well. Like if you didn't weren't a big Spider-Man fan, you probably wouldn't pick up on that joke. But for people like us who are big Spider-Man fans, you pick up on that joke as like, oh, I know what they're doing there.
Yeah, and even Jamie Foxx alluding to Miles out of Into the Spider-Verse, I thought was great, where he was saying, oh, you're a kid from the inner city, and I thought when you took off the mask you were going to be a black Spider-Man, and everyone knowing full well that Into the Spider-Verse, it is a black Spider-Man. Like I think they had so many of those good little inside jokes in there.
Yeah, and I like that too. Like that leaves it open for down the line, maybe we do get a Miles Morales in the MCU live action movies. And I like that all the Spider-Men were like slightly different too. Like Toby and Andrew had different MJs and different like motivations, but like they all felt a connection to Tom Holland's Peter Parker because of the similarities and them sort of dealing with similar issues, but with different people in their lives.
Yeah, it seems like they spent a long time of working out how exactly they were going to show them as different but the same. I think even linking in with great power comes great responsibility and things like that, and suffering loss and how they come through it. And I think that was a real, I don't know, for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, but for me, that was a real emotional few moments there of them connecting to almost, it felt almost a bit Luke Skywalker, but not going to the dark side and learn from my mistakes. Like, don't just kill someone because you're angry, or don't let the anger take over. You need to move past it. And I thought that was more than just a normal Marvel superhero movie. And that was my concern probably at the start too, that there was a lot of villains. And I thought maybe that was just going to mean it was a lot of CGI of Spider-Man having a hard time, but then overcoming the villain in the end. And the route that they took to kind of go with, we're not beating them up this time, we're saving them, I think was something really refreshing, and it made it new, rather than, I feel like every time I go into a superhero or Transformers or whatever it might be, that you just kind of, Indiana Jones is the same. You kind of just know that in the end, they're going to have a hard time, but they're going to win. In this one, it wasn't so much about winning as much as it was about helping.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's been the key pillar of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. He's always been the guy trying to do right by everyone, not just what's right for him. Like, even the whole reason this kicks off is because Ned and MJ don't get into college because of him. So he doesn't go to Doctor Strange to get him to wipe the globe's memory of Spider-Man because it's too hard for him. He wants everybody to forget who he is because it's hurting them.
Yeah, I think that's where Tom Holland was trying to link himself to Ferris Bueller. Like, he was trying to do the right things, but he just does it in the wrong way.
Yep. And I liked the sort of moment where Andrew Garfield saves the current MJ, and like that, and then he lands and immediately starts crying because he has flashbacks to what happened in his movies. And I was like, yeah, these are the sort of things that are making this movie feel like all of those previous movies were part of the plan. And I was like, they've actually put a lot of work into how this story has been written so that it does feel connected in that way.
Yeah, definitely. And for me as well, I think it also took me away from having three of them, took me away from the feeling of thinking who was the best. Like, I don't feel like so much now where I was like, who's the best Spider-Man, or which story was my favorite? They feel linked, so I don't feel like I have to compare them as much.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they compared themselves, to be honest.
I think the one issue I had was Toby and Andrew's suits weren't like super distinguishable. Like, they were quite similar,
they
whereas
were the original
at least
though.
They weren't.
No, they were. I thought they were.
Oh yeah, I think they were, but like they weren't. They're very similar suits. They're not like Tom Holland's suit, which is very clearly different. So I would have liked
I was actually wondering at the start when he was going for that intensely golden suit, I thought, man, that's a bit over the top. But then once they got to the point of three Spider-Man, it really helped, because it's hard distinguishing them by voice.
Yeah, and then when they've all got their masks on, it's just like, oh, they're all just the same dude.
Yeah.
What did you think of the death of Aunt May?
Well, I think it was a good move in terms of the story. Like, I think it, like you said, it created a lot of emotional intensity to it that probably wasn't otherwise there. It made it a bit deeper. It was sad for me how it happened, and I guess that does link back to the other Spider-Man, though. It just really frustrated me that such a good character was killed because of something he was doing that he didn't need to do, and he just could have listened to Doctor Strange and everything would have been fine. And it really made me feel that resentment, but I guess that resentment is kind of what drives him after that. So, yeah, it was sad, but I think it was necessary.
I liked the way that they did it, where sort of he thought she was okay, but it was Spider-Man that realized, no, she's actually really hurt and not in a good way here. And it sort of echoed back to like him in Infinity War when he's getting blipped out and he says, I don't want to go yet. And it's like, it felt very similar to sort of that moment. I was like, oh yeah, this is hitting pretty hard in this moment.
Yeah. Do you wonder why, like, in those moments, every other time he flies around in his web and stuff, but Aunt May's dying and he just sits there and watches.
And just screams out, somebody help, somebody help.
Yeah, exactly. You're the guy that people scream for.
Pick her up and fly her to a hospital.
Yeah, do something. Shoot web over it, fly away.
Yeah. What did you think of the shiny blue Spider-Man suit at the end?
Look, I guess that's where the old school part of me comes out. I like the old school Spider-Man suit. I generally like the nanobot thing for me and the changes. I've never been someone that really likes that sort of thing. I just like the OG Spider-Man. Even for me, I do like that the original had the web just coming out of the body. I don't like the idea of making the canisters a web shooter. So for new suits, yeah, they look cool, but I just like the older one.
Yeah, I thought this one looked like this very shiny one at the very end. Looked kind of like the animated series suit. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then that ending sequence where he goes to meet MJ in the coffee shop, that was pretty sad when he clearly has no idea who he is.
Yeah, and for me, a part of me was thinking, oh, it's going to work out. He's going to sort it out. And to see him just kind of realize that he can try as hard as he wants, but it's going to be a lot harder work than that. I definitely, like, it left me wanting to see how that progresses.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that's the biggest thing we can say for this movie too. Like, it's made me excited for future Spider-Man. Whether Tom comes back or not is another story. I hope he really does, but I hope he at least comes back to usher in sort of a Miles if they're going to go down that route, so that it doesn't just feel like a hard cut and move.
Yeah. No, it was heartfelt, and it just, yeah, it was relatable. It makes you wonder about if you lost a loved one or if you had someone forget who you were, how hard it would be. And yeah, it got me in the feels.
And yeah, like, I think this is probably one of the better MCU trilogies as well. Like, it's probably the best MCU trilogy. Like, I feel like the three Tom Holland Spider-Man are three of the best movies that are in the MCU as a whole.
Yeah, I love it. I think they got a pretty hard rap at the start. Well, I feel like people were kind of pretty harsh on it. It was probably felt a little bit kiddie at first, but overall, definitely, I think they're really well made. And like I said, he's just, the way he's gone for that character, I love that about Spider-Man. I love that he's kind of that nerd, the kind of goofy, smart-assed Spider-Man that talks rubbish to the villain while he's trying to get them. And as he's getting beaten up, tries to have quick-witted comebacks the whole time. And I think he portrays that really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely a smart kid using math to beat magic.
Oh, yeah, using geometry and math the whole way through.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And then lastly, what did you think of the two post-credit scenes? Start with the first one, the mid-credit scene with Tom Hardy popping up, reprising his role as Venom.
Venom. I loved it. Love the mid one. I've been waiting for the time where Spider-Man and Venom kind of face off, because they're my two real favorites of that universe, I guess. But having him link into it and be there was cool. I didn't really quite understand him kind of blipping in and out. I guess that's with that multiverse sort of a thing. But him leaving behind some of that Venom to be taken over. I'm wondering if it's going to be the bartender or if it's going to be someone else. I guess we'll wait and see. But I love that. It was a really good. I think Venom's and the way that they're doing Venom now, I think that humor fits in really well with the humor of the film. Yep. And it made it really believable that it was just an extra scene of the same film. So left me wanting more, left me wanting to see what happened with Venom. Funny. Great. It was worth waiting for.
Yeah, I haven't seen the latest Venom movie, but from what I've heard, Tom Hardy was very involved in writing this one. And he's like a fan of Spider-Man. So from everything I've heard, the second one is much better than the first. So yeah, I'm keen to see him go into the Spider-Man universe and see how that works out. Like you said, noticed a little cameo there from Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso in that post-credit scene. That was an interesting acting choice for the bartender, yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And then the final post-credit scene, what did you think of that one with Doctor Strange and Wanda?
You know how I feel about Doctor Strange. That looks like the part that I didn't want Spider-Man to turn into. So I don't know. Look, to be fair, I never gave the original Doctor Strange much of a chance. I'm glad that they're kicking on the movies and it's continuing, but Doctor Strange gives me a vibe of that he's going to have a hard time with the hero, very predictable sort of a storyline, but this time we're going to fill it with more of those crazy geometric CGI scenes that make you feel motion sick. So it was cool to see, but I think you and I were both sitting there hoping Miles Morales was going to pop up and it was going to be still really linked into what we just saw, where in the end it was just an ad for the new movie.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the big takeaway I got from that too. Like the mid-credit scene felt like it was carrying on from the movie, but then the post-credit scene was literally just a trailer for the next Doctor Strange, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it felt totally disconnected, apart from us just seeing Doctor Strange in the movie, but he really didn't play that big a role other than kicking everything off and then wrapping it up at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a big Doctor Strange fan, it would be worth sitting for. But if I'm honest, I would say to people, watch the mid one and then go after that. It's not worth it. Get out while you can. Go grab your phone.
Yeah, just watch the post-credit one on YouTube. Like it really isn't necessary to see it immediately. So yeah, that is setting up Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is due out on the 6th of May. So we'll get to see that movie soon. It's one that I won't rush to the cinemas to see. I will hopefully get to see it early with a screener, but if not, it'll be one I probably just wait for Disney Plus like I did with Shang-Chi, because I wasn't expecting a huge amount from it, so I just waited and then was happy to just watch it at home.
Take your motion sickness tablets.
Yeah, especially if it's going to make me feel sick. At least I can pause it, walk around, have a drink, calm down.
Yeah, they definitely don't do the IMAX if they ever do that.
IMAX, imagine 3D.
Oh.
or the crazy 4D cinemas. We've got to take Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in 4D.
How good was that cinema we were in the other day? Like is that one of their max screens or whatever? Like you could feel the movie.
At the Hoyts, yeah, that's their, I think, VMAX. Like that's their real big cinema. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat in those VMAX ones before, but that one felt better. Like it felt like it was moving.
Yeah, that's their real big one. Yeah.
Yeah, loved it.
Okay, so yeah, very high on Spider-Man. Go out and see it and avoid spoilers at all costs. Like,
yeah,
like we've just done full spoilers, but we've just done the full spoilers. But yeah, go into that and try to go in clear and fresh without knowing too much. And I feel like all those beats will hit so much harder. Like I went in knowing bits and pieces and having theories and stuff, and they still hit really well. So I think if you can go in there clear-minded, it'll be crazy to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
And now, a quick word from our sponsors. First up is Maison de Femmes. They are an online jewelry boutique dedicated to the lovers, mystics, and dreamers. They sell exquisite gold-filled jewelry that can be worn as everyday basics or stunning statement pieces. With Christmas fast approaching, a Maison de Femmes piece may be just the thing for that special someone in your life. Check them out at maisondefemme.com. If you want a night filled with crazy stories and a ton of laughs, then Sam Wade's upcoming Sydney Comedy Festival show Mind Cave is not to be missed. Check it out at the Factory Theatre from November 4 and November 6. And finally, if you're in need of a new logo, event poster, Twitch overlays or emotes, or any type of merchandise designs, then look no further than LF9 Design for all of your graphic design needs. The team at LF9 Design can create anything you need to suit all styles and budgets. Check them out on Instagram at LF9 Design. So what else have you been checking out recently?
What else have I been doing? Nothing's going to compare to that now.
Yep.
I guess on the hit of nostalgia, I've been playing a fair bit of the new Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm. Is that why your room's green right now?
That's it. Me and the Master Chief back at it. I've been waiting for that to come out a long time. I mean, my Xbox, the Series X, I got that like 18 months ago, I think I got it day one with Telstra. And on the box was the Master Chief. And they were going to release the Halo with the console like they did with every other Xbox console. And it's been waiting since then and delayed. Obviously, that's not 100% their fault with pandemics and things like that happening. But
they did do a lot of work on this, though.
Yeah, I mean,
when they put out that,
as well.
Yeah, when they put out that launch trailer to say, hey, this is coming with the Xbox Series X, there was a lot of backlash on that trailer, and I think they realized we're coming in hot here. We need to take extra time and make sure this hits and hits hard, because if this comes out and is critically panned immediately, we could kill Halo as a franchise, because the last two haven't been received all that well.
No, yeah, and to be fair, I'm one of those people. Like, I had a really great relationship with Halo when it first came out. I mean, the first Xbox I ever bought, like the original Xbox, was because of Combat Evolved, the first one, and played that, and that was before the multiplayer was really available, and played it on all the different levels, and then went into Halo 2 and onwards and upwards. And then once it started to get to those sort of newer levels of Halo and ODST and Reach and all those things, they started to kill it. Like Halo 5 was kind of rubbish. And now I feel like at least they've taken the time, you're right, and brought out something that you could be proud of. And the nostalgia is one of the big things again for me that comes back. The story, I think, is very, very old school Halo. Like even the map that you're cruising around in, things like that, I find it very old school Halo. I think it's kind of predictable in terms of the actual storyline, or I guess a bit overdone. I think I want to be into it, but I still find myself skipping a lot of the cinematics because there's just so much to watch. And all I want to do is be back at it, shooting the grunts and hearing them have their little funny one-liners as this massive Spartan runs towards them.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore in this game. Like you're saying, I think 1, 2, and 3 I loved. 4 was 5 I don't even remember it, so that's not a great sign. And yeah, ODST and Reach I hated. So yeah, it is nice to have a good Halo back. What did you think of them doing the sort of split multiplayer, single player release?
It made me nervous. I played a lot of it, but I think the thing that is hard for anyone releasing a multiplayer now is that you got to remember that people are going from these really well polished, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Modern Warfare, whether it's Warzone, whatever you're playing, and you're instantly going to compare the multiplayer from whatever you're playing to the new one. It took a little bit of getting used to go back to the kind of space-like vibe and the different gameplay style of the multiplayer on Halo. But they came in really half-cooked. We loved it. We were all playing it together for probably a week. But once that nostalgia wore off, it was kind of just, you wish they had different game modes, or they'd get you trapped in game modes that you didn't want to play. If you only wanted to play Slayer, you just can't, because they're going to mix you around with all sorts of things. So it was a great way to show off the new graphics, which I think are phenomenal. Their new hit marker system, I think, is great. I love a lot of the new weapons. I think are awesome. I like that they've done the skins the way that they do the skins, where you can actually see what team somebody is on without having to have them completely blue or completely red. And you can actually have a bit of customization within that. The only thing that worried me about that was that they just didn't have the maps there, and they didn't have the customization of the game modes that you wanted to play. So, I mean, it looks like they're releasing more. I know that they're bringing out SWAT and they're bringing out Fiesta and free-for-all, things like that, and they're updating it as they go. I think that my concern is they're going for a vibe of the old school Halo, which I think is great, where it's very much based off the single player and the multiplayer as an add-on to that.
Yep.
My only concern for them, which isn't a big one, because I think the story holds its own, and I think the single player campaign, as far as I've played, holds its own. My only concern for that is I think the way the games are released now, it's much more the multiplayer is the most important thing, and then the story comes in under that, where I think they're still going the old school version of story first, multiplayer second.
Yep. Yeah, I did see that they have now added like Team Slayer and everything in there as well. So thankfully, that was my big issue with the multiplayer as well. Like, I'm not a big fan of the objective-based games. And when it first came out, that was literally the only thing you could play, mixed in with Slayer. And I played, like you said, about a week, and I didn't play a single just straight up Slayer game. I got Oddball, I got Capture the Flag, I got everything but just straight Slayer. And I was like, I just want to run around and shoot people.
Yeah, it is nice for them to come back to their ranking system. I've enjoyed that. They've always had a really good, clear ranking system where you can see that you're coming up against people that are at your level and you're trying to move through it. I was hopeful that two things would happen that didn't. I was hoping, number one, I feel like if they're going for that nostalgia vibe, just release it with that Blood Gulch map and people will be instantly happy. I really hope that's something that they bring out, because everyone that's playing it now, or most people that are playing it now, have had a real run of playing it as kids and coming up with it and wanting to play that. And I'm interested to see if they can find a way to put any type of battle royale into it, because now I think the way that multiplayer is, that's the real best way to play those games. I enjoy them the most, the battle royale. I can't see how they'll do it, but I would love to see them have a go.
Well, I guess with the map they have in single player, that's just like this big open world, it would make sense for there to be a spin-off battle royale on that map.
Yeah, I mean, they could do it. I guess it's going to, like everything with this Halo, that's probably just going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, it's just going to come out sort of very piecemeal. Another thing I didn't like with the multiplayer was like that progression system was very slow in that first couple of weeks. Yeah. It felt like you played forever and went nowhere. Whereas I think they've made some adjustments to that, and it's a little bit better now, but still not great. I like the multiplayer is free for everyone. That's a big bonus. That means it's going to have a good player base for quite a long time.
Yeah, it is. But then again, that's the other thing that's coming with these games now, is that almost everything that you want is battle pass based or whatever. Like, you got to spend in the store to get anything that's kind of cool. So I hope they open that up a little bit more to being able to earn it through really grinding out in the game. I really, really want to play it, but at the moment it's just not sucking me in enough in terms of the multiplayer. For me at the moment, I'm playing the campaign of Halo because I love the campaign of Halo. And like I said, I just love they haven't gone away from the things that were good in the old ones. They've still got the old enemies that you're fighting. They find a way to mix in the brutes, the elites, the grunts. The grunts are still super funny, and they've given them new little voiceovers. It's got that real light-hearted vibe to it still. And I'm happy to just do that campaign and then just go back and play. If I'm playing multiplayer, I'll go back and play Warzone or something similar to that. So I really want that multiplayer to catch up to where the campaign is.
And with the campaign being sort of open world now, are you like mainlining story missions, or are you doing a lot of the side missions as well?
Yeah, I'm not you. I don't have that weird OCD compulsion to have to clear everything before I can move forwards. I told you I was skipping through cinematics. I just want to know that I've done it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with just going along with the story there. I don't find it's too different. It gives you a little bit of option to go around, but I'm pretty much just mainlining just to the next big point. And if I want to go back, I'll go back.
Yeah, I cleared out like that whole first section before I did the second mission, and I had a fully upgraded grapple hook, a fully upgraded shield, a half upgraded grappling hook, 2 upgrades to my sensor thing, and then I did the second mission and I was like, oh, there's 2 more tools here that I could have used. I would have made a lot of those other missions quite easy.
Yeah, so, I think that, thank you to them for using a grappling hook instead of a jetpack. I feel like every game like that that uses a jetpack ruins it. They did the same thing with Call of Duty. Which one was it? Advanced Warfare, I think it was, where people got anytime you use a jetpack kills a game. And the grappling hook does what the jetpack does, but in a way that's actually so much more enjoyable and so much more realistic. Thank you for using a grappling hook rather than a jetpack. That would have killed it for me. Yeah,
I find when I'm running around, like I'm just like grappling hook in front of me and just like slingshotting myself forward all the time. It's great.
Yeah, or pulling yourself to the enemies. Like, it's actually quite fun.
Yep. How are you finding sort of that open world part in terms of traversal and everything like that? I like it because you can sort of,
Do that.
it doesn't have any of those weird, like, oh, here's a 4-foot barrier that you suddenly can't get over. Like, if I want to go up and climb up somewhere, I can, unless there's just a big hole that I'm going to fall down.
Yeah, I mean, I find it pretty good, and I think they scatter enough vehicles and stuff around for you to make it small, I guess. Yeah, I haven't had any complaints to it so far, to be honest. It's something that could be quite frustrating, quite tedious. I think that's something that kills some of the kind of bigger open world games for me, like the Witchery sort of games, or even Red Dead. I found that by the end of it, I got sick of riding around on my horse, as much as I love my horse. But yeah, this one doesn't
like Assassin's Creed and stuff.
Assassin's Creed, yeah, same sort of thing.
I like that you can sort of attack all of the missions in your own way. Like if I want to climb up on a hill and snipe everyone and then go in and kill like the last couple that are remaining, I can do that. If I want to get a warthog and just go in there guns blazing with some soldiers, I can do that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I would like them to put in co-op at some point. I know it's coming,
100%. I was
it's
just about
so
to say
disappointing that's not in there. Like,
yeah,
it feels
co-op
like this
something
game
that-
was designed for co-op, not by yourself, and it's not there.
It would be awesome, and they've got the capability. And there's so many people you could play with now. Like it would be brilliant to be able to share that with somebody. I'd prefer to do that than to do oddball over and over and over.
Yep. Yeah, like I want them to bring in co-op so we can just go back and do the rest of my campaign with a group of us as Spartans just going in and wrecking shop. Because
yeah,
like some of those forward operating bases and areas like that, they feel like they're designed for you to go in with a couple of Spartans coming at them from different angles, but I can't. I'm just me with some soldiers that suck.
Hey, I've played multiplayer with you. I've played with some soldiers that suck.
Yeah, that's me. I suck at multiplayer, especially when it's objective based. I hate them. But yeah, I think this is probably 343 Industries' best Halo output so far. Out of the 12 Halo games they've made, I didn't realize they'd made so many.
Yeah,
they've made
crazy.
12 Halo games, but only 3 in the mainline series. They did 4, 5, and now Infinite. And then they did
I think this is going to
Reach,
be one of the ones that doesn't
ODST,
get
all the other weird ones.
Exactly, and I think that's showing you that you remember the ones at the start, then you forget all the ones in the middle, and I think thankfully, now they're going to have made one that's not going to be forgotten again. So yeah, I think they did better on this one.
Yeah, I hope they support this one for a long time. Like with that name Infinite, like it feels like this should be one that they just keep adding content to and updating and stuff like that. So I hope that's what.
And that's the good thing about the ones now. Compared to the old ones, you didn't really have the option to, they released the disc and that was almost it. So at least now they can listen to that user input and the feedback that they get and hopefully modify things and make it better and continue to change things and keep it going.
Especially with this being on Game Pass too, like I feel like there's no incentive for them to suddenly drop it and bring in Halo Infinite 2. Like I feel like they're better off just supporting and building on top of this one.
Yeah, and I love that it's on the Game Pass. So I think that's something else that's been really good for me in terms of Microsoft. There's always that big battle between PlayStation and Microsoft, and I've stuck loyal. I mean, some of us have changed through the years, maybe after a few red rings, but I've stuck loyal from the original chunky controller Xbox through to now every single iteration to my new Series X, and the Game Pass has always been something that wasn't quite worth it. And now I've kind of done it, and even right before I was coming on with you, I just got they released Among Us, came out.
Yep.
And they just keep releasing cool little games, plus some big titles. My Flight Simulator, it's the Game of the Year edition now, I think, on there, and it's just worth it now. Like, it's so much better, and it's released to the PC gamers, so you've got that cross-platform happening. They're just doing it a lot better than they used to, and I hope they keep moving in that direction because they're opening up so much. It's made me really enjoy having the Xbox and having the Game Pass so much more.
Yeah, like I'm just playing it on the PC, but I've got Halo, Forza Horizon, Age of Empires 4. It's so cool to just have all of that there ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, they've got them across EA titles now for Xbox. All the Gears of War titles are on there now. Yeah, huge mixes, huge.
Yeah, I still love like my PlayStation like single player exclusive games, but yeah, I think Game Pass for anything that's like third party or stuff like that, this Game Pass is pretty good value in terms of that stuff.
Yeah, it used to be kind of just trashy games were on there, and now it's definitely not that.
No, especially with every Microsoft first party is on Game Pass. So,
yeah,
I don't know how they're making money, but somehow I think they're losing
battle
money.
Passes. I'm telling you, it's battle passes.
I think they're
losing
losing money.
To buy a new plane on Flight Sim?
No, like $30.
Yeah, keep going sometimes. The downloadable content is super expensive. That's how they get you.
Yeah, I think they're losing money on Game Pass as a service in itself, but they're probably making up for it in that. And then Microsoft with all their cloud stuff is making boatloads of cash over on that side of the business. So they're never going to be worried about going broke anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then lastly, on companies with bucket loads of cash, Apple TV Plus has a new show, The Shrink Next Door. Have you checked much of that out?
I have. I think I'm about 5 or 6 episodes in. Not finished where it's at. Is it completely finished the season? Can you watch the whole thing?
So as of recording, there's one more episode to come out this week, and that'll be episode 8, and that's the final episode. So I've watched all 7 up to this point.
Okay, yeah. I've watched about 5 episodes, and Will Ferrell and particularly Paul Rudd hooked me in. Will Ferrell because I was interested to see him in something that wasn't like him playing Buddy the Elf and something completely outrageously Ricky Bobby stupid. And Paul Rudd I just love as a human being. I think he's really funny. He can be really heartfelt, and I think he was the perfect kind of an actor for this role. So it follows Dr. Ike and what's the main character's name? Marty. So it's following Marty as he's trying to sort his life out through some pretty difficult times, and Dr. Ike, his shrink, his psychologist, and the way he comes to fix his life. But then you start to see that Dr. Ike is maybe a little bit more than he's portraying to be, and he's actually out to take advantage of his patients, and yeah, kind of take some money off Marty and make some gains for himself out of it. And I think it's based off a true story, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's based on a podcast of the same name that focuses on the real life story of the psychiatrist Isaac Hirschkopf, who 2021 was determined by the New York Department of Health to have violated the minimal acceptable standards of care in the psychotherapeutic relationship. So basically, he took advantage of people that needed psychiatric help.
Yeah. Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, and like you said, it was cool to sort of see Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell in this sort of more serious role, but then they can still inject their silliness into it as well. Like there are moments where it feels kind of like a Step Brothers-y type relationship, like particularly when they're painting a house, they start painting each other, and I was like, this feels very Step Brothers, but it works in this situation.
Yeah, they don't go over the top with it, which I like. And I mean, Will Ferrell's always been a little bit crazy to be able to play any Will Ferrell character. So I think that step of just not being outrageously trying to be funny all the time and just the difficulty side of that kind of is pretty believable with him. I think he does a really good job as more of a serious, dramatic role. But for me, and like I said, I'm a massive Paul Rudd fan, but for me, Paul Rudd as Dr. Ike was just perfect. I was worried at first that it was just going to be those two just being silly, but I think the way that he plays that character, as I've been moving through the season, I find myself feeling so endeared to him at the start. I was like, wow, he's such a good psychologist. He's really helping him. Like, he's killing him. He's so unusual in what he does, and the things that he's doing for him are really unconventional, but wow, don't they work? And I've really found myself buying in to what that character was doing. And as the season's going on, he's doing kind of more and more, I guess, questionable things. And I'm finding my feelings very similar to what Marty's going through. I think me as the viewer, I'm sitting there being like, don't be that guy. Surely, no, maybe he still is a good guy. Maybe he still is a good guy. And I think that's a credit to the character and the way they've developed it and the way that he's played it, is that I honestly find myself sitting there wishing he was a good guy and not just watching the story. Like, I actually feel disappointed and saddened because the guy at the start isn't the guy at the end.
Yeah, and particularly sort of in the most recent 2 episodes, 6 and 7, it takes that real big twist where you're like, no, I actually hate you now. You are a crap human being.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's done a really good job of... Yeah, that's the hard part. Like, it's done a really good job of building from episode 1 to now I'm up to 7, and 8, I feel like I'm pretty certain is what's going to happen. It's built up that arc of, this is a really good guy and he's actually really helpful. And then all of a sudden you're like, that's a bit shady. Oh, that's really shady. And now it's like, I hate you. Like, you need to get lost.
Yeah. I just hope, that's been hard watching it towards the end. Like, it's, I'm losing him, but it's another really well produced Apple TV show, I think. Like, it's obviously they're high end actors. They're going to cost quite a fortune to be able to put on there, and they've used their budget again. But again, it's another show that I've enjoyed watching, and like I said, enjoyed watching him in that different sort of a role. And it's the second one we've watched where they've adapted a podcast into a TV show and done a really good job of it as well. So that's cool. That Apple TV, they have a lot of podcasts that they can go and look at on their service. So I don't think they're ever going to be short of ideas for shows if they go down this adapt podcast route. Yeah, definitely. And it makes it that much interesting to see it as a real story. I think I think I'm more inclined to watch those stories and get really sucked into them if I know that it's something. Slight technical difficulty there. We lost Buddy and our phone call there, so we're going to just end the show and just wrap up all of our conversation about the Shrink Next Door. So like we were saying, it felt really cool that it was based on a true story, and I think it makes it a very worthwhile watch on Apple TV+. In terms of our top recommendations for the week, Buddy and I quite obviously both highly recommend Spider-Man No Way Home, and go in, see that one without too much information and avoid all spoilers at all costs, and it will hit incredibly hard. Thank you for listening to the Commentary Booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Buddy on Instagram at a.b_csee, and you can follow me on social media at JamieAppsMedia and at Pario Magazine. You can buy our merch at wrestlermerch.com/Pario Magazine. We have a range of Pario t-shirts, the Commentary Booth t-shirts, a very special varsity logo in there as well, so pick that one up. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, at patreon.com/JamieAppsMedia for as little as $1 a month. The following people supported at the community support group level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Blake Robinson, Brian and June Hart, Courtney Paulson, Jackson Carr, and Tracy Apps.